taking a trip and went someplace fun and exotic. Back row, back row. Nobody else. Oh, sorry. How about just someplace fun? I'll leave off the exotic. Okay. We have Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. Yeah, okay. Twice in the same month, 3 times, 3 different vacations. Awesome. Um, some slides just showing some goofy stuff that's gone on, I think, since our last user group meeting. We had the Datto conference and just a bunch of stuff going on all over the place. I'm David Levier with Crush Networks, the president of the user group. I'm thankful to be here today. Happy that everybody's here. We have, I think, 19 total in here. So thanks for coming. Glad you're here. Are we muted or are we live on our stream? We're live. Hi, everybody. Oh, the green light. Wonderful. Hi, everyone. All right, let's go ahead and get the PowerPoint up here. Make sure that works. We are streaming live. So say hi, everybody. Hold on. Everybody wave. That's Eric's good side. All right. Everybody. Okay. Thanks for being here. We're glad you're here. We have an exciting lineup today. Yes, indeed we do. It's like baseball. Okay, first things first. Anybody need help getting on the Wi-Fi? As much as I would love you all to close your laptops during when I'm presenting, that's not important. What's important is our sponsors and featured speakers will be on here shortly, that we give them our full attention. But if you need help, raise your hands. Your neighbor next to you will help you get on the Wi-Fi, but the event code is MS Event 283KF. And if you're a Chevy guy like me, 283 sticks way out because that's what's in my Corvette. All right, parking. Did everybody have to go through the gate on the way in today? I'm hoping that it is raised when we leave, but we've been really lucky for like the last 4 months. We haven't had to pay for IAMCP or for Microsoft events. Elevators, so as some of you know, they shut down in about 20 minutes, meaning if you could get locked out. So please write down Sal's number there if for whatever reason you need to leave and get back in, because my phone is muted and in my car, don't steal it. All right, social media. Thank you, Nicole, for your help with that. We have Twitter, which is at SoCal O365. Please follow that, like and retweet that stuff. And our meetup group, which you know about because you're here, but that is meetup.com/SoCal O365. Tonight's schedule is a little loosey-goosey. We were just done our eat and greet. There is a lot of food. We are thankful for that. We had an event in here earlier today, so we do have both leftover cold sandwiches as well as Aegis Innovators sponsored tonight. Let's give them a hand. They bought the pizza that you are enjoying, the hot, delicious pizza. Thank you to we have
Azure migration team.
Perfect. Reza.
Reza Palizban, I'm one of the co-founders of these innovators. After the National Association of Microsoft. That we're having at FMP Consultants on Thursday, September 12th at 4:30. So there is a
work profession.
Eric Peterson, also with Sovio. I'm a business analyst with supporting Office 365 and work with
Thank you.
Stacy Freed, I work in project management at a health company, and I focus primarily supporting their financial services.
My name is Cissy Butcher. I'm a study portals on the, I manage our Dynamics environment.
Thank you.
Dan Kemistruck, I'm the Chief Security Officer of Innovation for a Microsoft partner based out of Vermont. And we focus on Microsoft 365 and Azure security.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Aaron, did you get all that? Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the introductions. So a little bit of updates from our steering committee. We have SharePoint Saturday Los Angeles coming September 28th. At my bodkins, that's really close. Very soon. But as if that wasn't enough, 2 weeks later, SharePoint Saturday Ensenada, just a short 2.5, depends if Sal drives or not, drive from here in Ensenada, Mexico. We'll talk more about that in a minute, and we're planning still SharePoint Saturday San Diego in January. And then we, of course, have user group sponsorships available. So why would you want to sponsor the user group? We allow you to pitch, share your swag. Basically, it's the cost of dinner for 25 or 30 people, and you can increase your brand awareness and meet nice people and network and make people smile. Speaking of smiling, a couple of us went down to Ensenada to check out the venue for SharePoint Saturday Ensenada recently, and the date is October 12th. And we have a call for speakers, sponsors, and attendees is now live. So I will get that out to everybody in the group within the next week. But it's a terrific venue. Ensenada is a lot of fun. There's a blowhole, there's a winery, and there's knowledge. So that pretty much covers Ensenada. And usually a dog. So the Nazareth Orphanage, this is something that was near and dear to Tom Castiglia's heart and still is to Martha's. So what's going on is on September 21st, we are heading back there. 70 or so have registered already. Usually we get 80 to 100 people there. I expect each and every one of you to be there. Nicole, why don't you come up and tell us about some of the things that we do down at the orphanage? Come on up. In addition to fixing many broken computers running Linux on 20-year-old PCs.
So we are trying to gather new computers and monitors so they can at least have some matching hardware, and hopefully their repair person will be able to maintain them if they're just all matching and much more simple for them. We also help them rebuild a chicken coop. This is me teaching boys how to hold chickens and transport them across the orphanage to the new coop. What else? They repaired bikes, they painted buildings, they put up new trim, they weeded gardens.
I think we might rebuild the terracotta signage in front of the orphanage as well. if they're not burning trash across the street again. My goodness.
They do have also a tiny, they have a mosaic that's made of tiny little terracotta squares that are hand painted, and it was put there when the orphanage was originally founded, which was a long time ago. I don't know how long ago, but
50 years. Yeah.
it's really in disrepair, and Martha wants to restore it. So if anybody happens to be an expert in terracotta tile making, we want to do it the right way and do it the way that it was originally done. So we're looking for helpers on that.
Thank you, Nicole. So mark your calendars. This is a lot of fun. Food is provided. We carpool. There's people coming all the way from Los Angeles. There's a lot of people leaving from Carlsbad as well. So, you know, we'll carpool. We'll go there. We'll volunteer day. We'll get some churros on the way out. We'll have fun. Be a good time. Thanks to our sponsor 2 months ago, Crush Networks. Hey, that's me. And thank you to Ryan, of course, for setting up our live streaming here on Teams. He brings all his gear and sets things up and makes it pain-free, just sends me a link to join. In fact, I don't even have to join it anymore. He has this high-tech box up here I just plug into, and it's broadcasting all over the world. It's awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Follow him on Twitter, SharePoint Night. Okay, what's coming up? Well, we used to have this on 2 pages, and we could probably fill 3 pages, but these are all the big things that are coming up. As Joel mentioned, the user group on August 28th in Irvine, where they'll be covering the Best of SharePoint Conference and Microsoft Inspire. It's a panel discussion with many MVPs and RDs and just cool people like you and I. And if you're in the area, please come out and support it. Who's the sponsor? Is Proficient supporting this one? Or yeah, okay. And then we have in September, Mateus Rama here from Microsoft will be doing a tech talk. So we will not have our user group meeting in September. However, the IAMCP San Diego chapter, as well as SoCal and LA North, as was mentioned by Reza, is doing a social function. So there is no IAMCP meeting here in this office next month. And why you should care is because this networking event, free of charge, has sponsors. There's food. I'm sure there's going to be booze. There'll probably be 50 to 100 people. It's free of charge. Why not show up, come out, hang out.
Ping pong and cornhole.
Ping pong and cornhole.
Is the September 1st date correct?
No, the September 1st date is not correct.
Okay.
Sal's working on that.
Okay, but is that's a Sunday?
Yeah, he's going to crack the whip.
Okay.
The TBD is there for a reason. All right. All right, so then if you're into Dynamics for some reason, and why shouldn't you be? That's part of the Microsoft Online offering. The 365 CRM user group is meeting September 19th. And it's actually at the Auto Museum. It's about a 2-hour meeting, and then we go and walk through the Auto Museum at Balboa Park. This starts at 1. I think it ends at 4 if you count the getting the docent to give us a tour. I will be there. It will be a lot of fun. I'm sure I'll see Christopher and Eric and a lot of other IAMCP people. But if you're into Dynamics or just want to learn more, come to the group. It's fun. And yeah, if you like cars, motorcycles, what the heck, I'll be there. So Dynamics, we covered that. We already covered SharePoint Saturday LA. Oh, and in October in our user group here, we have Ingrid Camel of General Networks. General Networks is our sponsor, and the subject is, can SharePoint be an intranet? And it's they're covering communication sites, and I've already seen the deck. It looks amazing. We can't wait until that session as well. Then SBS and Sonata. The IAMCP party, raise your hand if you've registered to attend this in October 24th, Thursday. It's about half the people or more in this room. Thank you. This is going to be a big one. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, frankly, and it's turned into an all-day event. There's lunch, there's breakout sessions, there's meet and greets, there's partner networking, there's social stuff, there's probably going to be a dance. They're giving away a free car. It's just crazy.
So sponsorship opportunities.
Are there still sponsorship opportunities?
There are sponsorship opportunities.
There are a few remaining, I believe.
Only
at the smaller
The
ones.
agenda has turned into now a full day event with the first half of the day all education and open to anyone. So you do not have to pay for that part of the event.
That's correct. But if you want to pay, Here's a hack. You can type in IAMCP 99 and get a full ticket for only 99 bucks until they shut that down. There should be about 500 people. It will probably sell out, and the budget is $250,000. You should go.
Over 250 registrations already.
Yeah.
So
And it's nowhere close. And we're serial procrastinators in San Diego, so I'm not speaking on behalf of everybody in this room, but I think I.
Code still works.
Okay. Joel's just plugging in the code right now. All right, perfect, thank you. So IAMCPparty.com is that, and then November, I think Sunny is scheduled to do a tech talk. I think that was the plan.
Yeah.
And then we have Ignite in Florida in November. Holy cow, so much stuff.
One thing I didn't see up there, but I thought I would mention it. I'm connected to the people who are running the Power BI user group.
Mhm.
And so they have, at least Power BI LA in Barton County, have some events coming up as well.
Yeah, we have SQL Saturday coming up down here as well. Honestly, it's getting overwhelming. There are probably 70 events between now and the end of the year. I gave the ones that are topical that seem to come up the most in our group, but thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Employment opportunities. So Microsoft is hiring. So if you want to hang up your spurs at your 9 to 5 and go work with Microsoft on Azure and Teams, they're looking for engineers and consultants. It's too bad Mateus isn't here. Do you have more color to add to this, Sal, or is that good enough? We have one new hire right here in the room. Yes, absolutely.
How was your experience?
It's like, as they say, drinking with the fire under. But, yeah, there's a lot, it's a lot better than I imagined it would be. There's a lot of great people in Microsoft, and everybody that I've interacted with is supportive of the business.
Perfect. That's a solid review. Yeah, it's almost like we bribed them with pizza or something. Perfect. Okay, so take a picture of this or see me afterwards, mattrs@microsoft.com. And I'm sure you can contact anybody at Microsoft about it. All right, so Aegis Innovators are our sponsors and our speakers today. So let's talk about them briefly. They're here in the area. They do great things. Need I say more? I think that's pretty good because are you gonna take a minute to yeah, okay. So anyway, a great Microsoft partner. They're doing wonderful things, and we got 2 of them in the room today. So we'll talk about them a little bit more. Let's see. Oh, and that's, in fact, we'll switch over to you right now. Is that possible? All right. Let's give Reza and Matt Sosman a applause as they come up and plug in. Okay, which connector today? USB-C?
Yep, HDMI.
Straight up HDMI, all right. Oh, sorry. Camera.
It's an embassy.
Okay. Which do you need? Straight HDMI?
To this one, yeah, straight HDMI.
To what?
Into, yeah, straight into.
Please hold. Okay.
There.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay.
Let's give this a moment to warm up.
Okay. All right, great.
We're good on that.
Okay. We got Ashok on the line. And that's good. Awesome. Did I bring my clicker?
I got it.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Good.
My name is Reza Palizban with Aegis Innovators. Thanks for having us today. We want to talk about Microsoft information protection. Who here has heard of Microsoft information protection? Yeah, that's good. Is it even live yet? Is it even called Microsoft Information Protection yet? I think it's actually right now, it's transitioning its name. Has anybody heard of Azure Information Protection? Or AIP, right? I think it's officially still called that, but it's going to be changed to Microsoft Information Protection. Part of the reason is, what is Microsoft doing quite a bit now, guys? This cross-platform, there you go. So It's something that's going to work on Windows, Apple, mobile, everything, pretty much. So we're getting that familiar user experience across different platforms. So that's why you see this change in the name. Before we get into the topic of today, just a brief intro of myself. I'm a former CIO. I love business. I was in the world of distribution. It was a grinded out world, and I decided I want to get into technology because I loved implementing systems where I worked before. I love the use of technology and how it helps businesses. And so when I was a CIO, I used to deal with very sensitive information, finances, and I didn't have the tools that we have today. So I'm very passionate about it, and that's why I'm here talking. I partnered up with one of my current partners, Oscar Rodriguez, who couldn't be here today because he's in the Bahamas with his family, like me and Ashok are here. Ashok is one of my other partners. We co-founded Aegis Innovators together earlier this year. Through our relationship with the IMCP, we actually had a merger earlier this year. So we formed Aegis Innovators. And recently we became a managed partner with Microsoft. So we are changing quite a bit in terms of what our future is and what we're going to do. So I'll talk about that a little bit. So Matt Sullivan here is co-presenting with me today. So he's a man that doesn't need much introduction. If any of you have followed him on his TechNet blog, it's called Matt's blog. And he's going to have close to 2 million hits by the end of the year this year. Quite the expert. So that's why I'm leading off, okay? Because if I were to follow Matt, it would have been a different story. Now, the reason we're Aegis and what our foundation is based on our name, and the reason we chose Aegis is because what it stands for is the protection and support of another organism or organization. And that's what we've done as an MSP for many years. So we're transitioning a little bit from MSP to cloud services. We have sorry, I forgot. I'm used to the IMCP meeting here, so I have to stand right here. Protection, prevention, and production is kind of the three pillars that we base our business on, and what we lead with everything we do for our customers. So that's just a little bit about what we do there. I don't really want to get in too much into what we do because today is really about going into demos and talking about information protection. So, with Microsoft, if you've been following what Microsoft has been doing, especially with Satya Nadella, his vision of making Microsoft an engineering company first and foremost, and focusing on making quality products, the key component of that strategy has been the security part of their business. And there's 4 pillars that they really have their foundation in security, which is identity and access management, information protection, threat protection, and security management. Today's focus is information protection. There's not enough time to get into all those other topics, but they all do have some intertwining qualities that we may address during the talk today. So that is it. Security is built into the platform now. So what is Microsoft Information Protection? So it's currently called Azure Information Protection, but it helps you classify and label your sensitive data for protection throughout its life cycle. And what's great about it, it works seamlessly in the cloud, specifically with cloud services such as Microsoft 365. Who knows the difference what is the difference between Office 365 and Microsoft 365? Anybody here want to volunteer to talk about that? Chris?
Microsoft 365 bundles more products / services.
Well, yeah, Microsoft 360, go ahead.
Windows as a service, EMS, which is the AID, MID, Azure AD, also Suite, our offices.
Devices, mobile.
It's everything. Mobiles and devices. It is everything. So what they're doing is it's a platform now. Office 365 by itself inherently, I think Microsoft recognized is not enough. And so actually, even though the brand has exploded and it's been such an amazing platform, the shift is moving more and more towards this platform that's interconnected with the devices, with the security, with productivity, and with the devices. So with SharePoint Online is obviously part of that suite of products. So the enterprise mobility and security part of it is what we're going to focus on today. But there is a lot more. With Microsoft 365, the integrations are much more complete than by EMS by itself. Okay, so some folks get confused a little bit by that, but that's something that I will just impart on you to research that on your own time in terms of understanding there's much greater integrations when you're dealing with Microsoft 365 than piecemealing things with EMS and adding it to other licensing. So SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, OneDrive for Business, these are all cloud services that are going to be a key component of our demos today and what we're going to discuss. So why MIP? Why is it important for organizations to classify and protect their documents? I'm going to put that out there to everyone. Can you guys think of any reasons?
Compliance.
Compliance. Asha? IP. The other factors, of course, is what's happening in the world today. Cybersecurity is out of control. The pandemic. Has anybody heard that term pandemic before? So what's happening right now in the world of cybersecurity?
Well, I think there was a major shift where we used to trust everybody inside our companies implicitly, like, hey, you're an employee. Now we assume that there's bad characters inside. Whether it's your employees or not, it could be somebody who's using that employee's account. It doesn't have to be that they're malicious. You just have to assume now you have bad characters inside.
Zero trust, right?
Zero trust.
Zero trust. And the stats are showing last year, 2018, cybercrime. So cybercrime is whether it's internal or external. Okay. There's cybercrime and an employee intentionally breaches information and gives out trade secrets or financial information or fraud. But there's also nation states trying to get into our companies and getting into our documents. So $1 trillion was the damage caused by cybercrime in 2018, and we're going into 2021 projected to be $5 trillion, which would make global cybercrime equivalent to the third largest economy in the world. Right now, as it exists, cybercrime as it exists, if you take all other organized crime and put it together, it's less lucrative than what cybercrime is by itself as one criminal entity. So just think of that. So those are some of the reasons, but I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide and kind of talk about.
Can I mention one quick thing?
Sure.
How many people have been to the Have I Been Pound website? You plug your email address in there and it'll tell you all the times your data's been leaked, like your passwords, and like it's kind of mind-numbing. You know, you have to assume your password is out there.
Absolutely.
Pretty much every password you ever use is out there somewhere.
And plus you can type in someone else's email and see if they've been right.
And then you can go to the deep web and go track down that info and then use it.
That's right. Well, passwords are really a legacy technology, right? It's a very imperfect technology. And part of that direction and vision that Satya just put out in Microsoft is going to go to a passwordless world. So highly recommend looking into the 502 compliance that's it's been released now that you'll be able to do passwordless logins. You can use something like a YubiKey. Google as a company, everybody in their company is using YubiKeys because they had so many problems themselves in terms of breaches within their company. But we live in a world where there's no boundaries right now. Okay? Our data travels everywhere. Back in the days, we used to be able to control our environment fully on-prem network, and we knew where our data sat and how we could control those things. But nowadays, it proliferates at a much greater scale. There's so many different third-party applications. So one of the powers that we have today with Microsoft 365 is especially if you get into the E5 category of Microsoft 365, is something called Cloud App Security, which ties into information protection that allows you to set policies in your company and roll it out, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, and set these policies and protect information no matter where they sit. If you have employees in a company that, for example, are putting their information on Dropbox or Google, Microsoft Information Protection will protect those documents. So I wanted to put that out there. That's part of the reason why we're going into this amazing technology. So one of the topics, and Dave alluded to it earlier today, is we're going to talk about how do you protect a proposal. How many people in here ever send out proposals to anybody, outside entities? Just get an idea. Okay, there's a few of us. So we're going to use that as a little bit of a use case. There's other reasons, and we can do some other demos. Both Matt and I will. We can kind of play around with a couple of different concepts. So for those consultants in the room, it's kind of a neat thing that you could do with proposals. It's just one creative way to use information protection. But there's financial reasons as well. There's bank account numbers, credit card numbers, privacy and PII. So what we mentioned earlier with the global cybercrime and what Joel alluded to, 25% of all breaches are happening internally. That's a stat that I've seen range from 15% to 25%. It's somewhere in there, but that's a high number of internal breaches as well. So we're going to talk about how you can protect your data internally versus and externally, both. Intellectual property, Ashok mentioned. Military, for example, will have highly classified information, whatever it means to your business or to your entity, why something is needs to be classified or confidential, and high employee turnover. So that goes again, when somebody leaves the company, and if it's happening on a malicious and they take all the data, how could you prevent them doing harm by using Microsoft Information Protection? Okay, so we'll come back to this slide. I think I'm going to run into a demo, but part of what the data protection way of kind of protecting your documents, it comes with this being able to discover them. The system has the ability to discover your data based on the policies that you set. You can classify and you can label the documents. So let's run in there. We're going to be talking about encryption and retention. Over. Any questions so far?
Doing great.
All right. Okay, so the thing about information protection, Microsoft Information Protection, is it shows up in a lot of different places. Okay, so I have a Word document with a blank Word document open right now. If I know as an employee of a company or leader of a company or somebody who is maybe in finance, if I'm going to do something that I want to protect, as soon as I go in, I have some labels there that will tell me how I can classify that document. Okay, so these policies are from my company's tenant. Microsoft has what default policies and labels that they put out, but they're pretty weak. Okay, so, and they don't really necessarily match every business. So you need to go in and program them to be specific to your company. So I think Matt may touch on that a little bit on how to program that on the back end. But for the purposes of this demo, what we're going to just show is the ability to label straight off. Okay, so if I know this particular document is going to be financially sensitive, so I can put a bank account info in here. Can't type. Or whatever that data may be, okay? I can manually label the document. So when I manually label the document as financial, the document is now encrypted. Okay, so what does that mean to you if the document is encrypted?
It means that the file as it's saved should be encrypted. It should mean that when you transport it, it should be encrypted, and it should mean that when you send it to someone, they need to have rights to decrypt it. You want them to see it.
Correct. So one thing that Dave just mentioned is I haven't even saved the document. Okay, so once I save the document, although I have encrypted it, I'm gonna go ahead and save it to my demo. Just call it test one. Another set of actions is going to happen. We got to give it some time. Now that I've saved it, you have to save it to a cloud location, whether it's in your OneDrive or in SharePoint. Now you can actually see what those permissions are. So for me as the creator of the document, those are my permissions. Now, if somehow our company got hacked and somebody got access to the data or migrated the data somewhere else, will they be able to access this data once it's out of our company's system?
Access to a breached account.
Only if they have access to a breached account that does have. Yeah. Or if an employee takes that data on a thumb drive and downloads that important financial data to their home computer, but then they get terminated, will they have access once their account is shut down? No. So that's a manual way of encrypting this particular document. Any questions so far?
How do you do this in like CAD drawings and other formats? PDFs.
So PDFs, it will recognize PDFs, but as far as right now, it just supports the Microsoft Office suite of products. So with what's Excel, Word, PowerPoint. But in terms of third-party applications, I don't know, Matt, is there any that besides PDFs that it protects?
Keep that in your back pocket. I'll talk about. Yeah, very good question.
Okay. All right, so that's an example of a manual encryption of a document. So part of the beauty of Microsoft Information Protection is that you can program the back end to auto encrypt as well. Okay, so employees in a company are generating documents all the time, correct? If they're handling financial information, you can program the system to either automatically encrypt or to suggest that they should encrypt it. Because one of the issues with this is if you completely leave it manually and leave it up to the user to decide what to encrypt and not encrypt, you know, it's not necessarily going to happen. So that's why they need people like us, right? So we get hired to come into a company and talk to businesses and kind of identify what is the real magic happens in the programming on the back end so that the auto encryption policies take root and that they meet the business needs. Okay, so if you are in healthcare and you're really concerned about certain client data, whether it's you know, their home address or their date of birth, you can create these manual policies in the back end versus relying on the data loss prevention policies that are in Office 365. Is anybody here familiar about what data loss prevention is in Office 365? You want to, Ron, you want to volunteer? No, okay.
Ryan will, he's in the front.
So, did you want to?
Sure, why
Go
not?
for it.
So yeah, the DLP allows you to be able to identify documents that have sensitive content within them. So you can set up patterns to say, hey, automatically recognize credit card numbers, social security numbers, known types of things that are sensitive pieces of information, and then you can act upon those.
Yes. So, for example, DLP has every different type of passport format through all the nations of the world. You can set policies based on whatever is that concern.
We have a question is, what are the license implications of enabling information protection? Is this overlapping information rights management?
Information, are we talking about IRM in SharePoint? Or they're just talking about information rights management? So that's so I think maybe I should take a step back. Has anybody ever heard of rights management service, RMS? Yeah, and then it went from that to AIP, Azure Information Protection, and now it's going to Microsoft Information Protection. Now SharePoint has SharePoint IRM. Does anybody know what SharePoint IRM is? Joel?
Yeah, it's rights protection on your SharePoint libraries. There's settings in your list where you can enforce a set of protections similar to what you're seeing.
Yes.
Such that when you upload, you can have it automatically add labels or add rights protection, encryption, those types of things.
Exactly. So just because you turn on information protection, whether it's Azure information or Microsoft information protection, if you just turn it on, but you are administering a SharePoint, you have to also go and program SharePoint to make sure the policies are set there too. So that's a key thing to remember, is to go into SharePoint IRM. So that actually reminded me to bring that up, because I know this is a SharePoint heavy group.
And it's probably worth mentioning the Compliance Center, where you can actually do, from the Compliance Center, you can manage a lot of those policies. So you can actually take advantage of labels and things like that, actually take advantage of Microsoft, of the SharePoint side of it, like on your list.
Right.
Based on labels in DLP.
Did that answer Aaron's question?
But he's also asking licensing.
Licensing really is the question.
Licensing. Okay, so licensing. So we talked about EMS, right? EMS gives you certain access to it. So EMS, Microsoft 365 Business gets you access to it. If you go to Microsoft 365 E3 and you add, what was that other license that you need to add for cloud app security? It's the compliance license?
Oh, this is a great question. Okay, let's test the licensing quiz here. So you got 11, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about cloud security when I come up. I'll do a little bit of it. But
Okay.
Microsoft 365 3, which is how much?
32.
32. And if you add our latest, this is going to be really confusing. If you add our latest SKU, Microsoft 365 Security E5 for $12, then you get Cloud App Security. And for additional $10, the Compliance E5 SKU, you get Azure Information Protection. That's one way to get it, or you can just buy the E5 suite. Or you can buy it a la carte, Azure Information Protection P1 or P2, which I don't know the price on that. Many different ways to get the product at Microsoft. Whatever license floats your boat and that you're into at the time of the day, that's going to get you a.
And so how much does Microsoft 365 E5 cost? $57.50?
What? They added 50 cents to it?
Did it?
So it depends. Okay.
Oh, it depends on your CSP. Okay. Are you sure what?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
You're sure what? No, there's a company sure what, because I noticed that.
No.
Yeah, I was like, why is the price not 57? I was just dealing with that like literally 2 days ago. Ashok is smiling back there going, I thought it's 57. Yeah, so yeah, if you're dealing with a CSP, but if you're buying direct from Microsoft, it's 57. So, okay, so let's go into an automated scenario. Okay, I'm going to create a new document.
Good question, Aaron, by the way. Was that from?
Just open it up.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do this. So let's say I am working on a P&L. Okay, so I want to talk about P&L as an example, because this was programmed on our back end. All right, it's not something in data loss prevention. You're not going to find something that's going to protect an income statement or a P&L and income statement are the same thing, or a balance sheet. It depends on what it is you want to do. Internally, you can program it on the back end. So I'm just going to give an example of one.
Those numbers are looking way up. Congratulations. Like what?
So if I go in, first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and save this document to the demos. So the thing that you also have to understand, right now I'm in a sync environment. So there is a process where sometimes it doesn't happen right away. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and share this document out. And go ahead and send it as a copy. Go ahead and send it externally to the company. Let's see.
You're sending that to Gmail? No?
It's a Gmail account, so for whatever reason, it's not picking it up. So let's see, maybe I need to type it in. Let's try. Instead of copying and pasting it in.
Yeah, it still says saving, not
It also hasn't picked up sensitivity. This is not safe.
Hasn't picked it up. So let's try one of the other ones that I've set up. Let's try Aegis Innovator Profit and Loss, see if that has anything. I am connected to the internet, right? Oh wait, let's see here. Let me plug in just to make sure my OneDrive is syncing.
You're on the Wi-Fi.
I'm on the Wi-Fi, but I'm worried that let's see.
Oh, you're in low power mode or something?
Yeah, let's just make sure we are. It's processing changes, so. An item may be used in another application, so might be having a little bit of a conflict. So.
Let's find a good workaround.
Yeah, so let's try this. Let's do a proposal.
Looks like you have Word open already.
Yeah. Let's go in and close this one.
Any account that you created or applications installed?
On the receiving end?
Yeah, like you sent me something, I have to install. Just like.
I think you used to have that, but recently you can do it now through. It goes through the browser and it gives you a one-time code. So I want to demonstrate that. So we're going to shift over to the proposal concept. So, and then let's see if it works here. I'm going to try it again. I tested it earlier, so it worked, and I don't know why it's not working now. But here's another example of a auto encryption. Small official. There it goes. So this one worked. Did you guys see that? I didn't manually click on any classification or any label, right? So, and this has been programmed in our back end. Those particular string of words that are brought together will auto encrypt it. So the PNL should have worked as well. So I might go back and test that. The time is starting to run short, so I'm going to hand it over to Matt in a little bit. But so now what we're going to do is I'm going to send this over to Ashok, and Ashok is on my Microsoft Teams call, so we'll do a quick screen share. So now that I have this proposal, let's look at the permissions and see what it did. So first of all, it says this file was automatically labeled as proposal 15. The reason in our company we did proposal 15 is because we set an automatic expiry date on that document. Okay, it's only going to be good for 15 days. We're going to create another one, we've decided, because certain customers need 30 days. So we're going to create a proposal 30 as well. So we're going to have another label in there once we get around to it. So if I look at the permissions, I have all these different permissions. So now I'm going to send it to Ashok, who's going to be outside of my company. Let's go ahead and send it to him as a Word document. Okay, so now I'm going to send it, and the email is also telling you that this has been protected as well, right? Okay, it's giving me that notification. I'm going to send it, and then you get a little label that says it's been protected. So we'll go over to Ashok. We'll see what it looks like on his end. The other key component as Ashok's doing that I want to mention is Microsoft Information Protection doesn't only protect the document, it actually can you can create rules so people can't re-forward that email. So that's one of the things that we're going to show here.
So that's the document that's the email I received. Didn't have a read message to the
Now, why would you want to do this with a proposal? Let me just let's look at the business use case of this. Why would you want to do that?
Maybe you want your proposals to get to your editor.
Right. And you might have some information in the proposal that you might find proprietary as well, besides the pricing that you might not want to put out. There's a lot of intellectual property that we have as consultants, our methodology of how we do things. That's IP as well. You want to protect that from a proposal standpoint. So this is a good practice, whether you are a consultant or you're an administrator in the company, to talk to the people in the sales department. Are you protecting your proposals? You know, we don't want those to get in the hands of the competition. So what are we seeing here, Ashok?
So since I entered the one time code earlier today, they're not asking me to do it again. That's at the sake of 12 hours. But this is the email I received. So if I try to open the document here, I cannot look at it when it's online, but I have to download it if I want to look at it.
Go ahead and do that. So right now, the version of Word Online and Excel Online doesn't support information protection yet. It's coming. But you can still download it as a user. So he's going to go ahead and download it.
No, let me share my desktop.
Oh, okay. No problem. Take your time. So he's going to fix his sharing. So he'll be able to view the contents of the information, and he's going to have a set of permissions he can view. Let's look at those permissions, Ashok, once you open the document.
That's the Word document. Word.
So now let's go ahead and view permissions. What does it tell you?
He's signed in with his.
Oh, you're signed in.
No, because it saved my desktop.
Oh, your desktop is signed in. Okay. Yeah, I should have told you to put you in a completely non-Microsoft environment. I was doing this on my Mac, so the permissions that you would normally see there are going to be, it's basically view only. You can't edit, you can't change anything. But because he's within my organization, that quite didn't work out as a demo. But go ahead and go back to the email and see if you can forward that.
Right now, I can only reply. I cannot reply all.
Okay.
You can try to take it from the desktop and email it to me or Matt.
Sure.
And we can try to open
If they want to have an Aegis Innovator, you can.
Yeah. Do you need? Well, okay. So do you want to pull that up? I can forward. So what I'm going to do?
So what if he goes now back to his,
to
his Gmail account and forwards that email to?
He can't. So try to forward it. So do you see how it's grayed out there? It's completely grayed out. So just try to click on it.
From Gmail.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can try it, but then you won't get into it.
Oh, you're talking about the notification?
This one.
That one?
Yeah, it's stuff you can send around, but that's not it.
Yeah, he can forward it to somebody else.
But then they can't open it. because
They
don't
can't
have
open
the
it.
code, whatever.
And it's tied to the email address, so.
forward it to me.
Go ahead and forward it. And so let me invite you to the Teams then.
No, I'll just hold up my screen.
Okay. Okay, sure. No problem.
Where it says recipients.
Oh, right here.
David.
Internet Trust Network.
David.
Oops.
You've got mail. I've just received a mail from Azure. It's a forward. And it says, Reza has sent you a protected message. Read the message. Click it. Going to a web browser. Web browser says sign in to view message with Google, which I don't have. Or sign in with a one-time passcode. Okay. Click that. Please check your email. It says we sent a one-time passcode to Ashok's Gmail, not to me. So I will never get the one-time passcode.
Okay, but now I'm gonna send a document to you, so
Okay.
let's see. Let's see what you see since you're not within our organization.
So this system.
Yes.
Does anybody else want to see it? I can walk along.
This system doesn't, I mean, it's all about email behavior based upon attachments that have a security section. And so the system detects when you're trying to send something, or you're deciding to send something.
Yeah, because now the encryption is embedded inside the document itself. Now you can activate that through, I've been just showing you it in Word, okay? You can do it in Excel, but where else can you do it? Where can you activate it if you did it manually? Where else? Sure, all the apps, but what about outside the apps? File Explorer, and Outlook is one of the apps, but from email you can do it as well, right? So if I started an email right now, if I go to my emails and I hit new, so if I wanted to send Ryan the same document, okay? Now if I attach the file, if I attach that same file as a copy, it automatically did it, right? Because that document was already encrypted. Okay, so.
Okay, can we pause for just a second?
Sure. Yeah.
After we did the test with Ashok, and he forwarded it to me, now you sent me an email from you to me with what? I wasn't watching your screen.
That
Word file.
The Word file. So you should try to open it and it should ask you for a one-time
Well,
code.
for starters, it says that my credentials must, I'm using Outlook, I think 2019 on the Mac. And it says your credentials must be verified before I can even access the message. So I have a blank screen right there. I have not played with this before. Clicking verify credentials, it seems to want to know who I am, so I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Matt, what's my password again?
I'll check how I've been phoned.
Approve. It wants me to approve my sign-in request because I have multi-factor authentication and my phone's in the car. So we're doing a bad demo right now.
It's the demo gods are killing me right now.
Sign
Yes.
in another way. Hold on, I've never used it. Approve it on my authenticator app. Also in the car. Verify. Call my phone. Text my phone. Or use a verification phone from my mobile app. Again, my mobile
Good for
app
you
is-
for having MFA. Does everybody here know what MFA is?
Multi-factor.
Okay.
You're not getting in my documents, but neither am I tonight. Cool demo.
Okay, so I think everyone kind of understands getting the feel for what this can do. We use the example of proposals because, go ahead.
Also realize that our Outlook is also protected, so we put that same message in the email, it will also be encrypted.
Good point. Did everyone catch what Ashok said? So first of all, that document was already protected, so it knew it was protected, okay? But if I started from fresh and I hit new, I can manually protect something if I wanted to be a proposal. So if I do it this way and I say, look, my proposal could just be an email text saying, okay, whatever it is I'm selling.
Ooh, what a bargain.
Prices are low for some reason.
Hugs, are these hugs?
Yeah. So if I send this to Ryan, he's going to be able to read the document, but he won't necessarily be able to forward that document. It's the same, it's going to be the same thing. Do you want to verify that?
By the way, I should point out that after you sent me the document and I was prompted for MFA, I cannot access, I can't even see the document at all because I haven't verified my rights. However, Outlook did pop up to tell me that should I be able to look at this document, that the rights to the document are view only.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
There you go.
It said the restrictions it lists are pretty extensive. Edit, save, print, copy, export, full control, reply all, and forward. In other words, I'll be able to read it only.
Yes.
So you wouldn't even be able to copy anything out of the document and attach it to another email.
Or
You won't
paste it in Teams.
Not even print screen.
Yeah.
And on a mobile device, can you take a screenshot with it?
Want to see them too? Check with them too. Yeah. The only thing we can't stop you from doing is take your phone out and take a snapshot. Can't stop you from doing that.
My proposals are like 72 pages long, so have fun with that.
We're all gonna go out and look up Reza on the dark web and find out he's selling
I
hugs
just
for
want to go back again to the one that Asher forwarded.
Okay.
If they were like partners in crime and he was forwarding that code as well to him, would we be able to prevent that from happening as well?
I think what Ashok would have to do if they're partners in crime is I think you'd have to give all the email information for him to be able to log in and log in as.
So you have to be on his account, like on his.
He would have to log in as
Ashok
Ashok.
got a one-time code that I requested, so I guess you could call me and tell it to me.
Yeah, but the question is, would it still work on your computer with his account because you're.
That's a good question.
With his email.
Very good question. I'm gonna throw that over to Matt Silsman.
No,
Yeah, that's fine.
you know what? I just wanna go for it.
It could. It could.
See, that's where that gets really interesting.
Right? You
Okay,
could.
hold on. Ashok, you have the one-time code.
I do, yeah.
I just requested another one. You wanna read it to me and I'll type it in and see what it does?
It does 16069864.
I've got the same combination on my luggage.
Look now, the idea of information protection is, first of all, we all know how security works is there's nothing that's foolproof and nothing that's perfect, but we are making it a lot more difficult, right?
Let me toss a wrench in the engine for you. So think about this for a moment. You could fill out a policy that says you have to access the document from a managed computer, right? So you could say, in order to access that document, you have to be a computer that's joined to your domain or managed by your Azure Active Directory.
Employees only.
And employees only, right?
Yeah.
So you could do that. So even if I got the code or forwarded it or however you want to be able to link that
That
document.
would help with use and customers.
Right, I still gotta have, be on your domain and be on your network. So there's all sorts of different policies. I mean, obviously we don't have time to go through it, but there's so many different ways you can design this to really make it robust. Reza, do you still have your PowerPoint open by chance?
Sure.
I just wanna, do you mind if I share a story real quick? I just want you to include the slide that had the spider webs that said data's everywhere. You have that slide?
Yeah. This one?
Yeah. When I saw it before, it just reminded me of a story. So I'm a security architect at Microsoft. I think everybody here knows who I am. Those who don't, I'm a security guy. And so before I was a security guy, I was a consultant in Microsoft Consulting Services. And years ago, we had a hospital up in LA that got breached, like back in, I don't know, 2014. And they sent out the Microsoft incident response team, and I was on the incident response team to go take care of this breach. Make a long story short, they were breached because their data, the patient data, was on Facebook.
Wow.
And we're like, how in the world do we get on Facebook? So as part of our job, we go out and interview users, management, we had this whole process. So we interviewed some doctors and nurses, and they admitted that they put the data on Facebook. And we're like, okay, we're dying to know, like, why? And so basically, they have these shift handoffs that they do after every shift, right? So the doctors and nurses at the nurse station, they hand off to like the midnight shift or whatever, the swing shift. Well, they had a tool that they would put their data in, the PHI, the patient health information around, cancer patients, who needs medication, all that kind of stuff. So there's a tool that they were supposed to put in. But the tool was too hard to use. And so somebody got the bright idea, we should create a group on Facebook, and we'll just do it that way. Everybody has Facebook.
And it's so easy.
And so they created these Word documents that had, cancer patients and medications and who knows what in these Word documents on this public Facebook group. And of course, it got breached. And that's what happened. And so that's kind of story number one. When you think about what Reza showed you, I mean, that can be pretty powerful if you can protect that data. As an end user, I don't have to know anything. All I have to do is type in a patient health number or type in a credit card number like you saw or anything, and it automatically encrypts it. That's brilliant. I don't have to do anything as an end user. Or if I just happen to create on my personal computer, maybe on an iPad, right? I'm sitting on the couch at home and create a document, and I upload it to OneDrive or upload it to Google Drive or Box, doesn't matter. We can then also encrypt it. We've got technology that talks to Google Drive and Box and whatnot. So it's really interesting when you think about how this data travels everywhere now. I travel all the time. I see people with personal iPads and personal Macs and PCs and everything. You don't know where that company data sits. But if you can protect the data no matter where it goes, with the technology that Reza's showing you, that's an entirely different game. And so you see at Microsoft that we're actually not really recommending you lock down the machine, GPO, group policy objects, and lock it down to the point where you can't use it. The game now is use whatever you want. We'll just protect the data. And as you saw, it's all tied to your identity.
So I got a little add-on to that story.
Yeah.
Healthcare company decided patient IDs and patient records are the most important thing. Well, because of that health record ID locator is so, it's a standard number, right? Yeah. So they decided to make it not standard and make it very, obscure, so there is no standard. So security by obscurity, it's making it hard for people to locate those records. Well, now they have no idea how to track down those patient records because they could be anywhere across the enterprise because now there's no way to find them.
They made it more difficult.
Standards, there is a reason we have standards. Security by obscurity is not.
Security is important, but we never wanted to disrupt the business or prevent productivity, right? So
and that's really the idea that Microsoft's trying to accomplish with information protection is, like I mentioned, let's not lock down the workstation. Let's not treat it like Fort Knox anymore. Let's just treat the data like Fort Knox. And so we value identity as everything, right? So as you saw, when you log into Windows, you log into Office, we're using that identity to supply the permissions to that document. So if Reza sends me that proposal and I don't have his identity, I can't get into the document. Now the document's in my possession, it's encrypted, but I don't have his identity, I don't have explicit permissions to access it. And because it plays off of identity, that's where you start to get those interesting scenarios like, I have to use a domain joined computer, or I have to be on the network in the office, or a number of different variables you can now start to add in. That's really cool.
Which license do you need for conditional access?
Which license do you need for conditional access? So, multiple licenses, right? Dan called out Microsoft 365 Business, absolutely. You can also buy a la carte, Azure Active Directory PD1. Bonus points, everybody knows how much that costs.
Six.
Damn. And actually, no, it's 6. And then Microsoft 365 E5, of course. EMS E5, or actually EMS E3, multiple different ways, but it's basically the P1 license of Azure AD. But we've done a lot of work though. We're making that cheaper. It's now in Microsoft 365 Business. So if you have less than 300 users in the environment, you're eligible for that license, which additional access now comes with it. But this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about here, where we can make Hollywood come true by protecting the data. Now, what Reza didn't show you, Reza, if you want to back out of the screen there, how much time do we have, by the way?
I am going to give you the next 40 minutes.
Oh my, I might need a share.
If you need that, otherwise you have 10. So.
Okay, yeah, so we'll do this in 10. So Reza, if you want to go to your internet browser, pull up track.azurerms.com.
I like this.
This is the coolest part of it.
Track.what?
Track.azurerms.com.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I didn't show that part.
Microsoft believes in, and it has always been this case.
What did I do?
Track.azurerms.com.
First link.
Oh, first link. Okay, there we go.
And you might need to log in. You're going to sign in there.
It should sign me right in. I could have done that from a document too. So let's see what's going on.
See what happens here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So go ahead and click on one of those. Don't show us anything too confidential, but
sure. Like just not a document.
I feel comfortable showing here.
Yeah.
So let me talk through what you're seeing here. So Microsoft's vision around all this too is we don't want security to prohibit you from being productive. And so if Reza is in inside sales in a manufacturing company, and he accidentally sends the wrong document, maybe it's a proposal to the wrong customer, normally he'd be having a heart attack. Well, here down the lower bottom there, it's kind of hard to see. You see a black button. Don't click on it, but this allows you to revoke access. So if he makes an oopsies, that's your oopsies button. So if he sends the wrong document to the wrong person, or maybe I send the roadmap to the next Surface to everybody in this room, and I'm like, oh great, I made a mistake. I can click on that button and it revokes access in flight. So that's kind of point number one I want to make. If you look at what you see up here, I can also see who's been logging into the document, who's actually been successfully allowed to access it, who's been denied access. That can be extremely powerful. I can even see a map of the world of where people have been logged in from.
It says map up there at the top.
Yeah, if you just click on map at the top there.
Oh, where's the map?
Lower right bar.
Lower left.
Summary. Oh, there we go. Map. There we go.
Okay. So I can see map of the world where people are logging in from. But the coolest part, right. But the coolest part is if you click on settings, I can get an email sent to me as an end user. So if I work in sales and I'm emailing quotes and proposals around, and you never call me back because you're my client, I may call you up and say, hey, I noticed you never opened the proposal. And you're going to ask, well, how did you know I didn't open it? Well, we got this product that shows us this, this, and this. But it allows me to change my approach in that sales tactic. So you can get an email alert, right? I mean, my point is, you're in control as the end user. You don't necessarily have to go to IT to revoke the document or do anything like you used to.
Is kind of like remote access and those things also available directly from the document somewhere, or like you have to go?
You have to go to this website.
This website.
At least for right now.
Would it like, is there like?
You can change permissions
You can
inside
change
Word
permissions,
or Excel,
Would it
like
be
change
possible to
policy.
to access something like this through Dynamics? Like if you
Yeah.
send your documents through Dynamics to have that.
Absolutely.
directly in Dynamics?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I upload a Word document based on proposal to Dynamics, I can label and protect that Word document just like you saw here, and then everything else will apply. Absolutely. And then, as Joel mentioned, I can modify the permissions inside the Word document as well. And I mean, this is really cool stuff because again, I can allow you to view it, but I can prevent you from taking screenshots on your PC. I can prevent you from copying data out of it. I can prevent you from printing it. There's so many different controls I can wrap around it. So it's kind of like, come to me with a business requirement. Let's see how we can fix that challenge and give you something you can actually use, but not lock down the environment.
One of my favorite stories was a aha moment of one of the security guys I was working with who they had, imagine doing a RAP, a risk assessment on the environment, and you've got, here's all the vulnerabilities of your company. They're passing that around in email, and the guys on the security team are like, there's probably a safer way to store this rather than just having a password on this document. We can't tell who's viewed this document, and whoever gets this has a foolproof way of hacking the environment. So they decided the safest place to put this would be somewhere where they can actually leverage, AIP or RMS.
And so the cool thing about this is you actually don't need to store the document in the cloud. So you can either be on a personal computer at home, you create the document, you put a credit card number in it or whatever, and you save it on your desktop. We have technology that we don't have time to talk about today that will actually pick up on that and report back and say, well, wait a second, there's sensitive data on a personal computer, and it's phoned back home using your identity as a way to identify it. So there's really cool stuff here that just lights up a whole new set of possibilities. But the one unfortunate part is it does require the cloud. That's how this stuff works. I say it's unfortunate because today's day and age, a lot of people are concerned about cloud cost and security and that kind of thing. But as you can see, moving to the cloud, this does make it a little bit more secure, if not a lot more.
So we have a question online is how does this handle if you have multiple Office 365 accounts, for example, signed into one machine?
So if I'm signed into multiple Office 365 accounts, when you go to label a document, it's going to ask you to pick which account.
Right, but the question is more like when you open a document.
So when you open a document, it's going to ask you to sign in. So if Reza was to send me a document or drag it over to my desktop with a USB stick, it's actually going to bring up an Office 365 sign-in screen and ask you to sign in. So you just have to use whatever account they give the permissions.
That's the same thing that I was just demoing over here when Ashok had forwarded it to me. In fact, to circle the wagons on that, the same experience that Ashok had when Reza sent the document to Ashok, he had to open it up and it opened up in a browser and said, sorry, Word can't open this document because it uses technology not supported by Word Online. So then I downloaded it, I opened it, I had to verify my identity again, and both because if I have multiple accounts on my computer, I could have logged in with any one of those. But eventually I got to the document where all I can see, it says view only. I can't do anything with it. In fact, it's going to expire in 15 days. So.
It's really cool stuff.
This only worked because Ashok gave me the one-time password to be able to get into it.
So a quick comment on that, Dave. When you think about that experience that they were just showing you on the one-time password, that kind of thing, we've done a lot of work in Outlook, for Office 365, Gmail, Hotmail, and Yahoo, where we've not even allowed you to ask for a one-time passcode if you're signed in with an Azure AD account somewhere, or you're using Outlook.com, Gmail, or Yahoo. We're just going to automatically allow you to see the document and see the email. And so there's a lot of work we do on the back end to make it a lot easier for an end user to just be able to see that protected information rather than having to go through a bunch of hoops to be able to access it. So again, it's trying to make it easier to do your job in a secure way, to the point where you don't even think about security.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining because we were trying to do a hacker scenario.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, if I sent you a document to your Gmail address, it would just show up.
I don't know.
Or Yahoo or Hotmail. Or Yandex, I bet somebody they're going to use Yandex. So Reza, just to kind of close things out, if you go up to your internet browser, we're just going to have you pull up one web page. Go to aka.ms/AIPDAG. Yep, AIPDAG, DAG, and just hit enter. So this is going to have you download a little PDF. This is written by our engineering team, and it's a deployment acceleration guide for Azure Information Protection. It's good bedtime reading, but this will get you started. This explains everything. I mean, if you know nothing about this, and you just walked in here, you're like, hey, this is really cool, I want to know more. Read this document. It'll walk you through what it is, how it works, the architecture, the technology, what you need, licensing, all of that. And then we'll walk you through some tutorials on how to configure your labels, the protection policies. It's really good. So they're always updating this document, but I just want to throw it out there. aka.ms/AIPDAG. It's a really good getting started guide.
Can you say that slower?
.ms/AIPDAG. You gotta let Microsoft are active.
Lower, but
AIPDAG.
That.
TAG. There's all sorts of resources I can give you. That's probably the best one, I think, because it's so easy to consume.
I'll have a slide up with that here. It's Azure Information Protection Deployment Accelerator.
We will love the tongue.
Yeah, love the tongue. Very good.
So Reza, great job. Any closing remarks, comments?
Just the one thing I didn't show in the demo is in Explorer, you can classify a document by right-clicking, and then you have to have that app installed. That's the Azure Information Protection Client. Okay, so you can classify documents that are already in a document library in SharePoint, or in, as long as you're synced up to Explorer through OneDrive Sync, so you can do that. I mentioned it early on, but if you get the right licensing and you have cloud app security and you have a hybrid network where you have a file server with documents sitting on that, you can protect those documents through cloud app security. So that's all I have for you all today. Sorry about some of the demo glitches. I'm still working on my demo skills, but Matt's been a great mentor and I appreciate your help. Matt, are you coming up here or?
No, I think we can probably start to wrap up. You might want to ask is just go out there and explore this a little bit, right? You do a little bit of reading. There's a ton of videos on YouTube and good reading out there, but just kind of have an open mind, because a lot of the industry doesn't really quite think the way Microsoft thinks when it comes to security. We're looking at how do we integrate this with our products, our operating system to make it seamless. And there's no agents or anything to be deployed. You just need that add-in for Office. And I can tell you we are looking at how do we make it so you don't need the add-in. And so, expect to hear more about that later on at nighttime for this November. But really cool stuff. Just definitely check it out. Have an open mind around it, because it could solve the business problem. So with that being said, Reza, great work, great demo.
Yes, thank you, Reza and Matt. Awesome job. I learned a ton, and I can't wait to play with it some more.
And thank you, Ashok.
Thank you, Ashok, as well.
Is there
Yes.
a roadmap of when you would be including non-Microsoft?
Oh, yes.
cloud times?
Yeah, Christopher, I mentioned that. So very good question. Sorry, thanks for bringing it up. I totally forgot about that. So obviously they support Office file types. PDFs are supported. We've even done some work lately to actually natively have the labeling mechanism inside Adobe Acrobat. So you can actually label a PDF inside Adobe Acrobat. You can do JPEGs, images, all of those things. What we can't do are things like AutoCAD files, right? However, there's a SDK for this. And so there are some companies out there that have written custom software that will allow you to label and protect things like AutoCAD drawings and really custom file types. So I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, but they're definitely out there to do internet search. But Office file types, images, like those are all supported.
Thank you, Matt. All right, before we go into the next portion, guys, take 2 minutes, grab another slice of pizza. We'll discuss gluttony at the end, but please, we have a lot of pizza and it will not keep, or don't eat it, and that's okay. That's okay. Does anybody want to get up? Otherwise, I'll just roll into things. Nicole, how much pizza is left out there? Eric's coming, Reza's coming. She says there's a lot. And I'm working on my, Ron's no dummy, he knows. All right. You're like, there is no more room. So the real question is Joel, once you received that, when that security document was circulating, was Ryan able to successfully hack in that night? Information in the email. How are we doing on food out there? We're down.
Our pizza's left and tons of the other.
Really? Yeah, we have, I'm guessing the entire veggie one is left, and
The entire vegetable.
what was the other one that's left? Or is it just like a slice of a little bit of everything?
I was talking about hypotheticals anyway.
Oh, okay, okay. It doesn't rhyme with gizzard or anything like that?
No comment.
And the bank rhymed with Heckna, I suppose. Just being silly. All right, Sal's back. He's got his tea with him. Good. Well, all right, Matt's hiding out back. All right. Okay, so thank you very much to Aegis Innovators for that presentation. I learned a lot. Just briefly wanted to talk a little bit, a very little bit, about some of the innovation investments that were announced at Inspire. This isn't all about me. I know that Sal was there from Microsoft for Ready as well, and they covered a lot of things in Internet of Things, which I know that Chris is interested in. They covered security and compliance, which we are all now a lot more interested in, thanks to the presentation today. Artificial intelligence and teams in AI. In fact, I forget what the announcement about teams in AI meant. Does anybody recall? Or did I type that backwards? I think there was some stuff coming in Teams that addressed AI. What was it? Matt would know. Let's get Matt back in. All right, and then of course, modern workplace. Joel, what were some announcements about modern workplace innovations? Do you recall?
There were some really cool demos, videos. Specific announcements?
I think it was more of a
incentives for teams.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of
attendants are free now.
What's that?
You had to buy a phone system license for your auto attendants, so that's free as of August 1st.
That's pretty good. There is a development, some app dev stuff for teams.
Yes.
Some templates.
Okay. Perfect. All right, so some other things that during one of the keynotes, it was announced that 60% of Windows devices out there are running Windows Server 2008 and SQL 2008 on-premise, which are 100% unsupported by Microsoft in the lifecycle. But there's incentives there. You can just move these workloads into Azure and get all the protections that come from them being in Azure. How about that?
Especially if you have software assurance.
Yes?
That's actually why I was hired.
That is why you were hired by
Well,
Microsoft.
As
Okay.
it's turning out, all the demand for people who are suddenly out of support.
Suddenly out of support? Suddenly. Suddenly, 11 years later, I'm now out of support. Why won't you warranty my Windows 2000 machine while you're at it? Windows 3.1.1 has been acting up as well. Anybody else?
Front page stopped working.
Front page is down. My Apple Newton screen is getting destroyed. Yeah, my VCR keeps eating these tapes. My 8-track keeps skipping all over the place. My reel-to-reel just keeps jamming. That's a funny story because I did just repair my reel-to-reel. All right. The summary there was really move things to Azure and get those. Other things that were talked about a lot were hybrid and DevOps, the investments in GitHub, and the new HoloLens 2. Has anybody heard or done anything in the AI space with HoloLens 2 in our group here? You know, we got to get the store back
a bunch
here.
of them who've ordered them who haven't received them. I've heard that story.
Okay.
People who haven't gotten them yet.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know for SharePoint Saturday San Diego, we have some very impressive people coming from Redmond to dazzle us with technology, so that should be real good.
I did order one, I do have Bob, he hasn't got it back yet.
Oh, yeah?
Is it just order?
Yeah, I think at Microsoft.com, I think they're featured right on the homepage. Yeah. Or you could probably work through a reseller, which I think there are a few in the room that might be able to help you with that. That's really what I wanted to cover on Inspire. It was a great time. There were a lot of us there, lots of networking. Reza, great time. We had Chris was there. In fact, I stayed at Chris's house in Las Vegas. I did not take the data center tour. Would you like to discuss the swimming with sharks, Chris?
Well, it's great. It's in Old Vegas. There's a big shark tank in the center of a pool. There's a slide, and you actually slide right through the shark tank. But you're going so fast that you can't really see the sharks unless you're a kid. They're able to like slow themselves down. It's their body weight, so very light. Sometimes they have to scoop like into the slide. Regardless, it was fun. The temperature was great to be in the water.
That's an all-age event, right? Because I remember, I think Emily, your mom went through it too, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, she went through it and she had a blast. So I did like a dozen times.
Tell me there was alcohol involved. That's hilarious. Matt, I hate to put you on the spot.
The Azure, some Azure guys, your friends actually went through it and they were nice.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I remember they said hi, but.
Yeah, they were for like 4 hours apparently at Switch, and then.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Rick Klaus and, yeah, okay. Right.
It'd be nice if we could sell Switch to build an Azure data center.
We'll take that offline. I get 20%, that's all I ask. Matt, hate to put you on the spot, but there were some innovation investments that were talked about, and we covered some of them today on security and compliance. This is the stuff from Inspire and Ready, and I can't have my notes and this open at the same time right now, but do you recall some of those announcements that they made regarding AI and AI in Teams? Remember what that tie-in was?
Yeah, I do. So I've never seen the keynote. I'm just trying to remember exactly what they talked about.
Power apps.
They're power apps.
Yeah, there was a power apps demo. We can talk about that. So there was a what was it, a Pepsi bottler, I think it was? Yeah, and they had a business problem. The business problem was when the guy that would stock the shelves of 2 liters of Pepsi in a store, he had to count all the bottles and then write them down and give it back to corporate so they could keep track of how many bottles go on the shelf in the store, which is very time consuming. So this guy who's not IT, he's not even technical, he wrote a power app at this company that you basically take up your phone and you take a photo of the shelf and it would automatically count the bottles on the shelf. And it would go into this power app, it would go to SharePoint or wherever and basically do the count for him. So he was on stage and showed the demo. That was really interesting.
I think the accuracy that they talked about on that was something north of 80%.
Yeah, it was very accurate.
Which, I mean, even if you're manually counting those,
yeah.
I don't think they get to that.
And they gave them size too. You
right,
can tell
size,
which ones are 2 liters and different ounces.
So what was cool about it too was here's somebody that is not technical, and they just created the app because they saw the business need. And like for me as a Microsoft person, that's really cool because that's what the platform does for you, right? When you buy Microsoft 365 or Dynamics or Power Platform or Flow or Power Apps or whatever, you don't need somebody in IT, somebody that is very technical to do this. It could just be a business analyst. It could be anybody. So that was probably the coolest demo I saw. There was some AI stuff that was announced. So Julia White, we were just talking about this with one of you beforehand. It was mutual, but Julia White, one of our senior vice presidents, she did a demo where she put on a HoloLens and it projected a holograph of her, looked just like her. It was really cool. And then everything that she said, her holographic person said it in Japanese. So it was real-time language
Her voice,
translation.
that was mine.
Oh yeah, with her voice, yeah.
Right? So the human was standing here, the holographic representation was here, and she was talking in English, and the holographic representation was talking in Japanese, and like that completely blew us away. That was so
she said, "Help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope."
Yeah, right. That would be cool.
I saw some Japanese guys after, and they were just like so mind blown. Like they were like, her Japanese was really good. And it was
yeah.
For some
her
strange
voice,
reason.
that was like crazy.
Yeah. But that's kind of what comes to mind. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they talked about. And there's a lot of work going into teams around AI, and you've probably seen a little bit of it. If you just go into your activity feed, it starts to show you now conversations where you've been talked about, and conversations that mention you or a topic that you're interested in. So that's kind of interesting. And then now with bots and apps and connectors and all those things, AI is starting to get really big into teams, but yeah, that was just some of the things they talked about in Inspire. I don't know if Joel or Eric or anybody else, you guys, how you think Inspire that inspired you, but.
Yeah, well, the Pepsi one to me, I was just telling Reza, the chewing white one I thought was, I don't know, it was okay. It wasn't one that really caught me. The Pepsi one really caught me because it's the whole citizen developer thing. Right. So I really did like that. Yeah. And there was also there was a long version of the Carlsberg story, the beer one. Yes. There's that, you know, I've seen snippets of that one on Microsoft Ads online and commercials, but there was a long version of that about Carlsberg and some element of, I thought, citizen developer around that too. That was pretty cool as well. So
awesome.
That kind of stuff was awesome.
The student one, the teacher.
Yeah, that was another good one.
That was like them showing how much different a classroom could be and how much more connected the students could be through that.
Yeah. One developer in 2 months did something like 5 years ago, it would take like 2 years for the whole team.
Yeah.
You can watch all that online too.
Yep. In fact, we all have homework. Those of us who weren't at Inspire or who were there but were sleeping in during the keynote.
All the keynotes are online, so
yeah, I'll watch that. All right. So thank you for that. There was another demo I saw that I'll talk about at another time. So something that was requested that we bring back that we used to do, but we skipped 2 weeks ago, was the open and Q&A. What does that mean? No question is too dumb. No, I mean, we got Microsoft people in here. We've got, you know, ask your licensing questions because Matt is just firing off SKUs like crazy. He's shaking his head in disgust. Yeah, go ahead, Christopher in the back.
I had a referral from Microsoft Partner Center, and this small office of 20 users, and they're asking for Windows 7 extended support. I guess they got a on Microsoft or something. Do you know how to buy that? Because it's only under EA, so I don't know what smaller companies would do.
Yeah, isn't that the one where you move it to Azure?
Well, like Windows 7 Pro, though, so like they're not going to or laptops to Azure.
Oh, yes, they are. Microsoft would like it if they did. No, I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know, Sal, you know?
The Windows Virtual Desktop licensing, you set it, but you can't run it on your desktop. You have to upgrade the desktop.
Yeah, they just want to, they don't want to upgrade the desktop yet. I would push them towards it. But they're like, well, they just bought some new computers, somehow Windows 7 Pro in the past year, and they just don't want to upgrade them.
They bought those from an eBay site in Indonesia or something?
I just recommended upgrading.
Can you imagine opening a Windows 7 Pro laptop and running Windows Update for the next 4 months just to get it compliant? Only 12 more reboots, no problem. Okay, good question. We'll dig into that. Any other questions? Anybody?
For Azure AD joint devices with Intune, we have some users that they connect with their VPN from their home computer. They want RDP into their Azure AD joint device. Their home computers are not Azure AD joint. And the only way that I've seen to do that is to disable NLA, which you really don't want to do.
NLA, network
level authentication. If you disable that, then you get like key exposed all nice marks that just came out. Has anyone messed with that or found a better solution?
I think I have somebody using Okta to get around that, but I would think that AAD's capabilities would cover that, but it sounds like you hit a brick wall with that.
Yeah, it's like they can RDP into a local user, or they want to RDP to their AAD profile device. You have to do it from another AAD joint device or disable that.
Really?
Even if you
why couldn't you pass it the line?
Yeah. If you disable NLA, that matters.
Oh, because it's passing through the local credential to the RDP session?
You gotta hop into one hop.
Something like that. So, for whatever reason.
Ooh, I like that idea. Joel had a suggestion. Do a two-way hop.
But you gotta go into one that is on the edge of the.
Yeah.
Maybe you
Like
can't run a
just buy a laptop at that point.
Maybe we can get one of Chris's friends' Windows 7 Pro device.
Not
Log in with it.
Is RD Gateway deployed? No, they're just the workstation. They're just VPNing in their workstation.
Well, I'm just asking, RD Gateway is used when that, maybe to log in and then like the gateway.
They don't have Active Directory, they're just Azure.
Well, what about using something like HTML5?
That would, like a splash top or something.
Or, so we use, so we operate a private cloud, so a lot of ERP systems, or even just desktop as a service. So we use something called Window. It's just a Linux appliance that, like, I think 4 vCPUs and like 80 pretty small footprint. Should be able to, about $90 a month. That works as the gateway interface, and then you're able to log in and use your.
By the way, those of you who did not attend last month's IAOCP meeting, where Purely Cloud did their demonstration, Chris is here. In fact, I would like it if you would join and you would show whoever wants to see a quick demo of how quickly you can get from your machine here and log in to a server in so damn fast, it'll blow your mind. It is so fast. And why that's important is because the server's up and running so quickly. I'm not getting paid for this announcement. I was just blown away at the demo. And I mentioned that in the email that I sent out, that is definitely something I learned. I mean, I know if people need what Russ offers, yeah, you can plug it in up here, that's fine too.
I got a question from Matt.
Go for it.
When can I buy a Microsoft Defender license for Mac OS without having to buy Windows 10?
Never.
What's the inside of Microsoft?
Really? There's a reason why it's by Microsoft 365.
Yes.
That's a good question.
Are they going to use non-budget security?
Is this okay to
Good
put you on the
question.
spot?
Sure. Thank you.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So, good question about the Mac stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so set this up before you do this.
All right, well, let's try this. So this is a Wingo, so you can put Azure VM, load this up. This is running on our private cloud though, and then you can deploy applications here. And then this is full RDP session, and then you're in.
Boom, you're in.
So
yeah, all of you are blown away, right?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't as great as 2 weeks ago because Kevin up here, I think he said like, "Oh shit," or "Oh fuck." I was like, "No." Right? I don't know. He was like sitting right there. I was like, "Did I hear that correctly?" And then I asked him what he said. He's like, "Yeah, he did say that."
We are.
Oh. My bad. I didn't say that. No, I mean speed tests. I mean, I was just gonna pull up what websites you get. I can get you.
Go to iamcp.org.
Yeah, so I mean, it's it's an RDP session. The difference is it's just this RD gateway, and then you can go and do different things. You can, let's say you just want to open up your files, or this is, I don't have any of this set up, but if you just want to open files and look at file share, you don't have to load up your entire session. If we go back home, let's see if opening Word. I normally don't open apps like this, but yeah, so it's not set up to open Word.
Because the policy is blocking it on this server.
Yeah, so, well, the idea is if you just need to open up a specific app, you don't need your full session, but the majority of our end users use this. But the performance most likely will be different running on any other cloud.
Sage 264?
I think it is, but I have not confirmed that.
RDP protocol.
No, it's HTML5 protocol, so I'm not sure what they're using for video transmission. I can check.
Good question, though.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Any questions? Talk to him, get a card, grab a sticker. I think Nicole wants another shirt. All right, so any other questions? We don't have to do these tough Azure AD and licensing questions. Matt's signing over here in the back. If there's not anything else, Draft Republic, here we come, 5 minutes early. Is that okay? All right. Thank you all for attending. We have a lot of stuff coming up. Appreciate our sponsors, Aegis Innovators. Thank you to Matt Sussman for being here from Microsoft, Sal for providing the room. I'm Dave, your MC, and we'll see you guys soon. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we will shut down. If you